One. Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to NC Political Tea. Hey, Margot, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Don't mind me as I try to figure out the angle on this new camera.
That's okay. Like I've said, our first 12 shows, they're not going to be Oliver Stone quality. So,
Well, it's interesting because you don't realize you're kind of backwards from what you really are.
yeah, all recording stuff, but we feel like it's important to bring you guys our faces along with what we're saying, right? Because it's not enough just to write it. We've got to tell you. And we've had so many comments. In fact, tonight we're taking, at the end of the show, I'm going to put forward 3 questions that we've got. And Margot, I want you and Anna to answer them. We've gotten a lot of questions over the last 10 days, and some of them are funny. So we're going to go over those.
Oh, I'd love it. That's going to be interesting. And you're going to catch me off guard because you know what they are and I don't.
Oh, I know. I already have my answer all thought out.
Oh, man, that's not very fair. But I'll play along because I can do that.
Yeah. Well, you're the very best when you're on the fly.
Oh, thank you. We'll see.
You do your best work. So I saw coming in that Merrick Garland has been brought up on contempt charges. And I'm hearing that, from some of our softer Republicans, wow, why do we have to go live in the past? And I think people are ready for accountability. What do you know about it?
I know that the House voted yesterday and it was a 1-vote win. Mm-hmm. And I think it's interesting. Jake Sherman, who, I don't know if you know him, he runs the Punch Bowl. It's a Punch Bowl newsletter that goes out, and they have correspondents on the Hill. He came out and said today, which was a complete lie, Trump is after retaliation because Trump is on the Hill today, and they celebrated his birthday. And I thought, can you believe this? Just because that happened yesterday and he's there today, he's going to say something this notorious without actually. Jake said that Trump said that Milwaukee was a terrible place. Mark Elias is the one who said he's going to go for retribution. So I want to get that story right because they both had bad things.
Mark Elias, the Obama lawyer that is the king of abusing our courts for retribution against Republicans. Is that
the king of using the word democracy wrong, the wrong way, the most flawed method?
You mean gaslighting?
Absolutely gaslighting.
Right. So, this is about accountability. Republicans in 2022 ran on accountability and holding Merrick Garland in contempt for not releasing. We already had the transcripts of what Joe Biden said when he was being questioned about this document case. We already had the transcripts. I think it's only fair that we're able to see the bumbling idiot that Joe Biden is. The public has allowed. So why not release the entire thing?
Well, it's funny because I really honestly believe that 2 of the people that made the best argument for that are Harriet Hagerman from Wyoming and our own Dan Bishop, who is an attorney, and talked about the fact that, hearing someone is drunk. He didn't use this analogy, but I will. He said basically when someone writes a descriptive that someone is drunk, that's different than seeing the tape.
Right. That's why during criminal cases, when there's a confession, which is this is testimony about wrongdoing from the president. We're allowed to see that. As I recall, I think Trump had a deposition, and that was shown in a court case. The video of it.
Absolutely, it was, and Mike Lindell's was too. They've really done a number on Republicans and supporters of Trump.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. So I think this is the right thing to do. I don't think it's vindictive. I think it's time for justice. I am tired. I'm really tired of our side telling people like you, me, and others who happen to be in Congress, hey, turn the other cheek. Let's go forward. Watch your tone. Be conciliatory. And we have our asses handed to us time and time again. It's enough already. There's got to be justice.
Funny you should say that. Dan Bongino, I just was listening to him today, and he was saying, I didn't know this, that Merrick Garland had done an op-ed in the New York Times and basically said, if you question, the DOJ or the FBI, they're going to come after you. He didn't say that specifically, but that was the paraphrasing Dan Bongino used. So it's interesting times for us. And I think that you can look at it at the national level, but it works in the state level too. I'm not saying that anybody's going after people in the state, but certainly
Well,
no prosecutions have been made by Josh Stein to help us or keep us safe.
well, I mean, people have been come after in the state, and
Oh yeah,
Josh Stein's allowed it. There's a journalist here that went and covered January 6th that got hammed up in that, and from what I know, he didn't do anything.
you talking about Stephen Horn?
I am.
And then of course there's Stephen Baker. Both of them. He works for the Blaze, Steve
Yep.
Baker. So yeah, two North Carolinians that have really been caught in the middle.
And you know that Dan Bishop, had he been AG, would have absolutely stood against this overreach, and said this is bullcrap.
Yeah, I do believe that.
Yeah.
I absolutely do believe that.
Yeah.
But what scares me more is not only do I think Josh Stein, and we know he hasn't helped us, Jeff Jackson will be worse.
Oh no. You want to talk about vindictive with a smile on his face. And I'm not worried about it because Dan Bishop's going to win for AG of North Carolina.
That's right. We're going to help him too.
No question about it. So, but there's a caveat, and we're going to talk about that. Let me put up this slide because I want you guys to kind of see what we're seeing. When you sent this to me yesterday, it explained a lot, and there's no excuse for it, quite frankly. Tell us what's going on.
So this is about a conference that took place in May. It was a state-based conference, and it was organized with the National Conference of Citizenship. And they released data about the civic health of North Carolina for 2024. And I thought it was so compelling that I put it on both my X account and also on my Facebook. And it is really the reason why I do what I do. Out of 50 states and Washington, D.C., North Carolina ranks 50th of 51 in engagement in local public with local public officials. So that means basically a lot of people in North Carolina, the majority of people in North Carolina, really don't discuss, participate in activities in their local government. They don't go to commissioners meetings. They don't go to town council meetings. Most of them probably don't even know who they are. Then the next stat that came out of this is we rank 47th in participation in public meetings. Like I just said, that is really horrific.
Look at what I have on the screen. Just 1 in 5 respondents reported that, yes, they volunteered in the last year. That's not good. I mean, civic involvement, that's, something that every family should do, whether it's, helping the homeless, feeding the homeless or whatever, being civically involved in volunteering. We make our kids do it too.
Right.
Voting is low. It looks like North Carolina comes in at 45th of 51 states, with only 45% of respondents reporting to have voted in the midterms.
Right. And we knew that there was low participation at the primary level. We knew it. We could see it. You could clearly see
from it. We're suffering from it. But look at what I just put up. Discussing political or societal local issues with others online. Guys, that is what our show is all about. That is what the 18 a week is all about. Only 34.5 respondents frequently discuss political and societal local issues in North Carolina.
And most astounding, in terms of voter registration, North Carolina ranks dead last. Dead last. In 2022, only 46 out of 100 voters voted in North Carolina.
Okay. All right. I'm verklempt. This is unacceptable. Everything that Margot and I tell you, whether you're looking at just my content, just Margot's or ours together, it is not self-executing. You have to act upon it, right? We're preparing for this every day. We're giving you this for a reason. Yeah. And a reason is to change this around.
And honestly, Sloan, the reason I got into doing TikToks, which is where the majority of my follower base is, they're conservative North Carolinians and Southerners, is because this next stat, posting views about social media, politically or local issues on the internet, we rank 46th out of 51. And of that 46 ranking, conservatives, I will say this about TikTok, there probably, for one of me, there's 40
liberals.
Democrats.
Right.
We just don't get our voice out.
Right. And guys, we need you to share our content. So it's not enough for us just to do it. I was very impressed with the first 2 shows that we had. I mean, we had over 8,000 views on both. You know, it took it a while. And then we've had a lot of reads because we're also doing blogs. We're sending these out. We need you to be our amplifiers. Please.
Because this next stat is probably the most important one of all of them. And with regard to what you're saying, over 81% of North Carolinians say they never post such views as political views, or fewer than 5 of us do anything posting frequently, meaning we don't want to get our voice out.
And I know. We're in the South, honey, right? We don't want to offend.
Listen, my mom would say, we don't talk about politics, sex, or religion. That's just, we don't do it. I'm sure she's rolling over because I haven't stopped since I learned to vote.
How about this? We're losing our country.
Absolutely.
It's you know what? We have a shared destiny. You may not know your neighbor. You may not vote like your neighbor. But we have a shared destiny at this point. This is beyond, Democrats being a shade different from Republicans. And a lot of Democrats will tell you that behind the scenes. I talked to several of them today, and they will say, we're not here anymore. Do you remember Charlie Rangel?
Oh, yeah.
Charlie Rangel now is on New York radio, 77 WABC. Love, the radio station. He's on the radio station talking about, he's an old-time Democrat from Harlem. And to hear him talk right now, Margot, he's like you and I.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's surprising.
Not on everything, but on most things. And he's very concerned about the country. I mean, you're going to listen to, Democrat Congressman Richie Torres from the Bronx, black gay guy. Got to tip my hat to him. He is taking absolute hell for standing up for Jews and standing up for the nation of Israel, not because he's paid like his detractors say, because he feels it. He's one of us. I showed his Twitter feed to my husband last night. I'm like, he's one of us. Like he feels the pain,
Those are his neighbors too. I mean, those
absolutely. We're brothers and sisters. Fetterman on this issue and some others. I mean, so there are people that see that we have a shared destiny in this country.
True. Very true.
We have got to talk about it. With that said, sadly, there are a lot of Dems, sadly, that are full of it. And I'm going to point that out right now. Okay. So shifting gears a little bit, the Senate Democrats, they are a one-note sonata on this issue. They're very verklempt about opportunity scholarships. And that is upwards of $7,000 being given to families that would like to take their children out of public schools that are failing and put them into a better fitting school. Now, notice this. They're crowing about, I thought this was interesting. The extreme Republicans coming for your family's freedom. This is a funny one. While they're talking about abortion.
I know.
How dare you say your family's freedom when they're referring to abortion?
It's a constant theme they just can't let go of. And they've tried to continue to make that the issue of this election. And it's simply not even in the top 5. I don't think it's in the top 10.
Well, I mean, it's for Democrats, right? But Democrats they're not the only people that vote. So yeah, no, they're tone deaf. But here's what I was going to show you. So on the one hand, they're very upset, the Democrats, about opportunity scholarships being given out to kids. But on the other hand, they're saying, no. We need that money for child care subsidies, statewide child care subsidies. We need that daycare centers. And look how they go on and on and on. We need to invest in child care. We need to invest in child care. So let me tell you what they're saying. I'd like to tell you what they're saying. They're saying, give us your children starting at 3.
Exactly.
7's not good enough.
And Roy Cooper, last 2 days, that's all he's whined about on social media.
Oh, well,
We need to keep that subsidy for daycares in North Carolina. What happened to people taking care of that themselves?
but well, what's the difference in providing money for daycare versus if your child's in pre-K, right? Versus a seventh grader who can't read or write, and the parents are waking up to the reality that the school in their district's failing. What? It's government money.
It's just starting earlier. That's all it is. It's indoctrination starting earlier.
But well, they're for one and not the other. And so candidates, if I were you, I would say, look, Democrats want to pay for pre-K, but they want to stop at that. They don't want to pay. You know, if you're listening to us and you're in Halifax, 90% of your schools, 90% of your schools are failing. 90%. What would you do?
Find a way out, right? I mean, that's what a good parent would try to find a way out. If you're in a failing school system, most parents, good parents who are really trying, are going to try to find a way out of that.
Correct. And I'm not saying, look, a lot of people love their schools. You know, I had my kid at a public school and it was working out just fine. God love you. We're not talking to you, right? It is the freedom. So I wanted to show you the language they're playing with. They're playing with the freedom language, right? But applying it to abortions. They're not applying the freedom language to where it belongs, and that is education. And I find it remarkable. Absolutely remarkable.
It's double talk. You know, it's so funny because they don't think we see it.
Well, I'm not sure that a lot of people do, but you and I do. So we'll leave it at that. So I'm going to put this bill up. We're going to go over some things. We've been talking about short sessions. So not only recovering the elections and what's going on the ground, but we're covering what's going on in the General Assembly because there's just so much. So this bill is we're going to debate this because this is something that I'm not so sure you and I have the same point of view on.
You must be talking about the suspension bill.
No, I am. House Bill 207, discipline changes. Tell us about the bill.
So this bill came about because of Christian McGee out of Davidson County Central High School in Davidson County. And this is related to the issue of him asking a clarifying question to his teacher when the vocabulary word came around that was alien. And he said, he asked the teacher, do you mean illegal alien with a green card or do you mean space alien? Well, that resulted in a suspension for racism, which an alien is a racist. Okay. And because of that suspension, because it was less than 10 days, that there is no appeal process. There was no way he could appeal the verdict of what he was being accused of. There was no way he could appeal the punishment itself. So it resulted in him not being able to go to school. It resulted in him missing track meets, which he's a track athlete. So his parents, his mother specifically, Leah, went to the school board and asked them to assist, and they basically blew her off. And on top of blowing her off, they defamed her. So
correct.
The legislature has taken this bill up now to allow for a way to find some type of agreement, plan.
Due process. It affords
process.
Due process. So in a short-term suspension, it's 3 days. Long-term suspension can be 7 to 10. Expulsion is extreme. But, and so you're agreeing that students should be given due process with a short-term suspension.
I'm agreeing that there should always be a meeting with the principal or the superintendent to understand the facts and make a determination.
Here's what I think. I don't like the bill. I love the fact that where it fell down, I think, is absolutely the fact that the principal and the vice principal, they made a very bad call and they wouldn't walk it back. Okay, so there's the first problem, right? I think that obviously the school board members are very inappropriate. I've been very open about that. One of the school board members sent me a defamatory text, which is now part of the lawsuit. I don't like that. So these are bad actors, but I like to give tools to teachers to run their own classroom and to principals to run their own classroom. If it gets abused, then at that point, do something. But to me, adding work in, adding administration and red tape might reduce the likelihood that bad actors actually get suspended. I don't want to do that. What you think about it. So there was a bill that came up that is talking about changing the way CTE teachers are certified. So a CTE teacher is when you think about shop. Back in my day, it was like, I don't know if they do it now, but you could get like hair cutting license, right, in school.
Career and technical education. I just
right. And what other careers would fall under that?
Well, it could be like an LPN, HVAC, welding, cosmetology.
That's it. Yeah. So let me just cut and there's a lot of backslapping going on. Oh, great. We're going to refine the process, etc. We don't have enough teachers for this. We're going to refine it. We're going to, blah, blah. Let me cut to the chase. Stop it. Stop it. Get a mechanic to go in and teach the class, right? Get a beauty shop operator to go and teach the class. Forget about the licensing. It is the biggest gimmick ever. In fact, here's what Texas does. Texas allows the districts to certify their own teacher, because I think that if someone has a math degree or a science degree or is a nurse or whatever, they can come in and teach their subject. This whole licensing stuff.
Well, Sloan, you have to be an LPN to teach. You have to be a nurse and a BSN at least to teach LPNs. So I understand the certification piece of it. And most auto mechanics that would teach have certifications behind them. Those are natural.
Correct. But they're certified in their profession.
Correct.
This is saying you're going to take a step more and be certified to teach right through the DPI. Forget about it. Forget about it. By the way, totally forget about it. This whole thing of you have to be licensed and blah, blah, blah is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And we have a shortage of teachers. And by the way, I've heard it said more than once that teachers are having a hard time reading and writing, and they're having to get this. Do away with the praxis. Do away with the qualification test because they can't pass it. Screw it. Make sure, you got a degree in biology? Go teach science. You're hired.
That's amazing, honestly, that they would want you to go a step further beyond the credentials that you've already accumulated, because you're not going to be teaching cosmetology if you're not successful. You really truthfully aren't going to be teaching nursing if you haven't been a nurse. That's never going to happen. So it's amazing. And welding, for that matter. It's amazing to me they want to go a step further. That further makes it difficult for them to have a good pool of candidates. And that's just really sad for the kids more than anything.
Well, they're doing it across the board. They're absolutely doing it across the board. And, you cannot, we cannot have this. We absolutely cannot have this. We've got to have teachers that can actually teach.
It's more bureaucracy.
Well, yeah, they love that. So speaking of licenses, I'm going to put this up here. This is a story that I wrote while I was helping Michelle Morrow campaign for state superintendent. And it's sort of stories that I wrote while I covered education here in North Carolina for the last 3 years. And here it is. There is a problem with teachers who are licensed being on the sex offender list and still through the public portal showing that they hold an active license. So I ask you, what in the hell is the point of having a license if it means nothing?
Well, what I don't understand is, why does it take so long to get them on that portal? What is the lag? If you literally have charges pending, we're not saying you're guilty, but we are saying get out of the classroom and get away from the kids.
Oh, we've been told a number of times from Catherine Truitt's office that it was automatic removal while a teacher was out on bail. It's not. And I also did a story showing that California, you get arrested, you're suspended. until that case is adjudicated. And they do that. This is left-wing California with a teachers union that's vicious. They do that automatically. Well, we don't do that here in North Carolina. That is a serious problem. That is one of the reasons why Catherine Truitt does not have her job now.
I think that's a big reason why, is because what she said and what she did are different.
Correct. Bottom line, the government's main job is to keep citizens safe. If you can't do that, and by the way, that includes teachers, that includes students, right? And if you can't do that, what the hell's the point? And so we need to stop having these conversations about, oh, what can we do for certification, blah, blah. How about eliminate them? If teachers who have education degrees are not able to pass the test, they're not able to teach math, eliminate that. Eliminate it. Just take someone who is a subject matter expert, pay them well, protect them in the classroom, and let's get about the business of educating children.
Yeah, it's really sad. I read another article today from the Assembly NC about teacher safety. You know, this woman did it was an op-ed, I'm pretty sure, but she said after 30 years, she quit her job, and she quit because she felt like she needed to start carrying a bulletproof backpack to work, and that her classroom door needed to be locked every day, and things that you never think about teachers having to think about. So it's not just certification. It's obviously
Safety.
Certification and safety.
Yeah, and the only person running as for superintendent of public instruction in the state on safety pretty much exclusively happens to be Michelle Mora. That's her foundational platform plank. And Mo Green has either not talked about it or has minimized the issue. You know, during his tenure at Z. Smith Reynolds, the most radical far left, Jew-hating, cop-hating, America-hating, Christian-hating organization in North Carolina. He spent 6 years there as a CEO. He funded multiple efforts to take out school safety officers and to teach teachers prison abolition. What in the hell?
You know, he's just such a notorious character anyway. I rarely hear him say anything that isn't political rhetoric. It's not really about teachers and safety and, you know, making sure that the children get the best education. It's about test scores and where North Carolina places and, you know, things that like I don't know if we'll ever in my lifetime get back to where we were when I was growing up in North Carolina schools.
Well,
which is so sad.
It is sad. I mean, he and other Democrats, they care about the system, the machine, the faceless machine, instead of the families that it purports to serve and the teachers it should be protecting. They don't give a tinker's damn about that.
But they sure like that teacher's pension fund.
Don't they?
I think that's one of the biggest reasons why Roy Cooper is against school choice, is that he knows that that's going to create a dent in the teacher's pension fund, which the interest off that pension fund funds a lot of things.
Correct. As students are being failing, as students are being groomed. Yeah, I said it because it's true. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, you in the audience say, "Oh, Sloan, that's just pure hyperbole."
I think you're about to
you know what I'm about to do? I'm about to break this truth down. Here's a Pitt County teacher who was arrested for raping a male student. This is just one. So take a look at this, right? Pitt County is supposed to be teaching. She's up here raping.
It's unbelievable, honestly.
Well, let me put up this one. This is a coach, a soccer coach. By the way, I've done a lot of work on this over the years. And unfortunately, it so happens that coaches are disproportionately represented in these predator statistics. So watch out for that. This is a coach who's gone from school to school here in North Carolina, drugging boys and assaulting them. And it took me raising hell on Twitter before the teacher had his license suspended. And I'm glad that happened while he's awaiting trial. What
county is he in?
This is Gaston.
Oh, I saw that. That's just shameful.
And so, but we're reporting these, Margot, every single week. So yeah,
It's not an anomaly anymore. And it's sad that we keep talking about this, but protect your children.
yeah. And it's not just public schools. I want to make it very clear. I am not demonizing public schools. Private schools, private religious schools have their share of problems also. Let me just tell you this. Let's break it down. Anywhere where children are is a place where pedophiles want to be.
Amen. That's very true.
So, it is any place. It is an after school place. It is Christian schools. It is Muslim schools. It is Jewish schools. So the banner of religion doesn't inoculate schools from having these kind of problems. Okay, so while we're talking about schools and the legislature, I just want to give a shout out to Senator Amy Galey, who, as a result of this oversight report from the General Assembly, really sounded off about Alamance County schools being over budget $4 million.
Yeah, I think New Hanover County is looking at least a $1 million budget overrun. So it's happening across the state. Yeah. And I'm very thankful it didn't happen in my own county because, frankly, half the people in the county, not quite half because we didn't get it passed, wanted us to put a new school system, a new centralized school here with a $50 million grant, which we would have had to match. And there's no way that we would have, first of all, come up with another $50 million. And secondly, that it would stayed at $100 million. So it would have been a budget overrun like that. So it's simple to see where it happens sometimes, but it's also scary because look at the tax base in New Hanover and also in Alamance. They have to pick that up.
Yeah.
Or they are cutting things out.
Yeah. And people will lose their jobs. And that's why it's important to have multi-layers of accountability. You've got, local, you've got state, on some of these federal things with schools and the funding. You've got federal, and you need a good auditor. So Dave Bolak, here's my pitch for you. You need a damn good auditor to audit all these finances. Dave has promised to audit every school district. And that's why I supported him in the primary.
Well, let's see him do it. Let's see him.
All right. Listen, I think he's a man of his word. I think he'll do it. It needs to be done. Fraud, waste, and abuse is serious, and nowhere is it greater than A, healthcare, B, education. I'm not seeing a lot of it, and it needs to be done.
Yeah, I agree. We see it locally, so I know if I can see it, it's everywhere. And the most pronounced place you see it is in administration. It's bloat in the administration. Yeah.
Yeah, it's right in there in that central office. And so we need to do a better job of that. But,
Can I tell you a funny story about central office? Because we very rarely get to talk about Western North Carolina. So I think it's an interesting story. Yeah. So we are looking for a new place to put an EMS center, a fire station. And we went to the local school board and said, hey, look, we want to use this building in a specific area. It's called Marble. It's it's where my grandmother taught school, actually. And they came back and said, no, we're not going to let you have that building. So the county commissioners sent a letter to the school board and to the school superintendent and said, you have until August 1st to vacate your central office building. We're going to use that one instead. Like, talk about taking the power back.
Yeah, your local elections. I mean, that's where you really build your security wall right there, because you really want a tight, city commission, county commission, school board. Very important.
Yeah, but now they're getting evicted.
I haven't seen you this excited since Trump was coming to Greensboro.
Well, I just think it's, the power in the county commissioners over the school board. People don't realize that there is power there, and you need to know there is.
Right. And when we help school board members get elected, we always tell them, look, you've got to have a partnership with your good conservatives on the county commission. You've got to have a partnership, and you also have to be a partner with the county lobbyist. Most people don't know that a lot of these counties have a lobbyist that are in the General Assembly, asking for things, and you need to know who they are.
Well, we're not fortunate enough to have lobbyists that I know of, but I do think it's interesting that what I've learned is the dynamic between the school board and the county commissioners and how little they talk to each other until there's a crisis.
Right.
And it's really incumbent upon us as citizens to be the voice. If you hear something at a school board meeting that you know is wrong, you have every right to talk to the county commissioners about it, because it may affect the purse strings and your taxes.
Absolutely. They have the purse strings. You've got to have that relationship. And so if you are running, if you're running for school board right now and you're listening, and you know that there are other conservatives running for, county commission, introduce yourself right now and go jointly campaign on the same issue. It really makes your campaign more powerful. And then when you get in there to office, you have a partnership, and it really should work that way.
Absolutely.
And your sheriff too, although sheriff elections aren't now, but get to know your sheriff. Oh, but your district court judges, those are the ones that do a lot of the juvenile stuff. Also, learn how all these multiple levels of government work together so that you can work together during the campaign.
Just realize, I want to say this up front, people don't realize it can be very confusing, because the district for your state senator versus the district for your state representative versus your district judge, those can all be different, but they're still on the same team, and they're on your team.
Yeah, they need to be. They need to be on the people's team.
That's right.
So get on the people's team. Okay, so we got some great questions. So I'm going to ask you this one. I'm going to ask you this, then I'm going to answer. What have you done to reach out to people outside of your circle? Because it seems like y'all talk to only Republicans.
Well, that's a great question. I don't only talk to Republicans. I try really hard. My reach on my social media, I think, is one of the biggest things I feel like is open to anyone. And I try to make my issues on TikTok, which, believe it or not, TikTok is a news or outlet.
Absolutely.
And people in North Carolina use it. So I try to make anything I put on TikTok not just Republican-y, but mostly about moral issues or issues that I know are top of mind. I always talk about elections, always, but I always bring up stories like the one about Christian McGee. That's a great story. We already talked about it earlier. For sure, that's a story that resonates with Republicans and Democrats. And I made it a point in that story once to say that Alan Beck was a Republican on the school board. And I got a lot of flack in the comments. They're like, why does that matter? And I had to go back and explain to them that school board members are elected. And it doesn't matter what party you're with if you're not doing the right thing. So to me, I try to keep it in the middle, but also let them know, like, this is an inflammatory thing that's going on. And if you're not involved, it could easily be your kid in your school district.
Well, that's a simple case of the government coming after a citizen. And I think everyone understands that, no matter who's doing it.
Correct.
So I'll answer that question. I went out of town this week, Statesville, and I ended up talking to two different business owners, one for lunch and one for coffee. And I just made small talk, like, how's business been? Are you having a hard time hiring? And that we actually never talked about politics, but drilling down, I mean, I love to find out how things are, from a completely, unbiased point of view. And they both were lamenting the difficulty of finding people that wanted to work, both of them. And I thought, okay, well, this is something that, how is it is it local? Are we experiencing it statewide, et cetera? So, and I was just sharing, I just kind of put out there, I wonder, and here's how I got the point across. I wonder if anyone, is running on that platform. And I just let it hang. Just let it hang. I mean, we didn't get past that, but let it hang. We had a very good conversation, but that's how I did it. That's how I'd recommend doing it.
Yeah. Get out there and just talk to anybody.
Anybody.
I don't look at somebody and go, oh, they're a Republican. I don't do that. I just ask them how their day is going. I ask them how things are going for them. How's this economy working for you?
I'm genuinely curious. Like my husband, he didn't give a damn. Probably most a lot of men don't, right? But I mean, I'm just like really, and you are too, just like, wow, what's
I think
up?
I think caring and curiosity go together.
Yeah, yeah, empathy, the real empathy, you guys, not the kind of crap they're forcing on us in our workplace DEI programs, the real stuff.
Right. Personal
Yes,
caring.
yes. Okay, so the second question is, I am a school board. Oh, I'm not going to tell you where. I'm a school board candidate, and I'm not going to give it away. And I'm wondering if I should run on DEI issues. I'm going to answer this first. I'm going to say that I get that a lot, and I would say it depends on where you're running. If you are running in the rural counties, I would say that it may not be happening in your schools. Step number one, see if it's happening or not. DEI is a problem, but not everywhere. Is it a problem that's coming to you? Yes. So if you're in an area where you're not hearing that's a problem, you could run on something that I will make sure that the teachers are offered trainings that fit our values, our family values, etc. I do not think DEI is something that's going to make somebody get off their couch and run and vote for.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't. It is dependent. Like if that's not an issue up here. Now, do we see some of it? Yes, absolutely we do. Peyton McNabb is from my school district, and absolutely we saw it here. But I think that one incident really opened the eyes to a lot of parents. So I don't see that as the main driver. I see the concerns we have here are the threat to consolidate schools because we're in a rural area and it's a large county. So I think a lot of people need to look at school consolidations. They need to look at budgeting, and safety is the number one thing I would say. Look out for safety for your students. But I really don't see DEI in a rural setting as being the challenge in my estimation.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, look, DEI and CRT is a huge problem, but I don't, I mean, a huge problem generally. But again, if you're not, first of all, when you create your message in a campaign, it needs to address your constituents. If you're running in a House district, it's going to come from hopefully months of living this and talking to people about the problems. And then your micro messaging targeting parents who live in a particular district or whatever, it must come off of your central messaging, right? So if DEI isn't a problem in that area, it doesn't make sense. You want to micro message people that are conservatives with CRT. And I see that happening all the time. Look at a palm card, you've got only so much real estate, right? People are very tempted to put buzzwords on it. I saw some of the worst palm cards I've ever seen in the primary. I mean, I'm like, why? You're just throwing mud on the wall to see what sticks, right? It's got to mean something,
I think we've gotten in a habit, which is probably the reason why our primaries are low turnout, of fear mongering to the point that people are exhausted. And that includes what you're talking about, the verbiage on that palm card.
Be real. I'm just talking about be real.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of us know something's a big problem and think it's like a big seller, if you will. And I'm not minimizing. I'm not saying we're being fake or whatever, but you really, it's such a problem. To your point, you don't want to have any of it. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's so much things that are broke where you are. Find out what's broken and have a real solution to fix it.
Yeah, I think no matter what you do, the big thing is to get your voters out. Like you have to get them out there.
Oh, that's
you have to message, but you have to follow up and get them out there. Get them to commit to voting. Okay.
So that was the next question. You talked a lot about getting out the vote. I live in okay. This is a person who's writing in that feels like she does not have a great GOP, strong GOP, and wants to know how she can sort of start an army of more than one where she is.
That's a great question. Probably one of my favorite questions because me and the GOP, we're kind of fire and ice. It's not that I don't like the GOP, but I feel like the establishment and the GOP don't care about me. So I have to find my own way.
Hey, 78% of all voters in America writ large feel like their party doesn't care about them.
Right. So for me, I created my own group of people. I messaged to my constituents in my local county what is going on. I can find it. The NCGOP puts it out there. I don't have to read it from the local GOP. I can put it out there. You know, things like I'm getting ready to organize a tea for Mark Robinson. That's outside the GOP. I've done a rally for him. But you can pull a group together. You don't have to be in the GOP. Here we have like a women's group. There's a men's group. There's a young Republicans group. You can have just a group of friends. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be tied to the GOP to care and want to do things. That does not limit you from being a part of poll watching, poll working, working the polls as a judge. None of those are incumbent upon you being a part of the GOP.
And I would say to Linda, I would say, I hope I'm not giving you away. I would say find what you really want. In other words, there are things that I don't like and I'm not going to do. Like, I'm not poll judging or, poll watching. I'm not going to do that. So, but what I love is social, greeting, knocking on doors, right? So I know that I'm going to say, okay, by September, I'm going to have a solid group of 20 people. We're going to door knock for these days, and we're going to poll greet. And damn it, there you go. You're doing something you love to do anyway. It's very social, right? Take a piece of the iceberg. A lot of people think, well, I got to have the whole thing. I've got to have it all. Kit and caboodle. You know what I mean? And I don't know how to do this and that. Take the one thing you want and make the difference.
So that's really a good point, because what I wanted was to make sure the messaging got out to people who to vote for. And the way I really started was I called every county in the state, which is 100 counties, and I asked them for their palm card at the election time.
Yep.
And I got probably 60 of them. And then the rest of the 40 of them, I just put out a call to people on my TikTok and said, can you send them to me? And we ended up getting 100 counties worth of palm cards. We put them on all social media platforms. So you can find a way if you want to be in a group or if you want to do it on your own. There's always something. And if you're looking for some group specifically to join, but you're conflicted on what kind of group, you can always reach out to me via DM. I'll help you. I'll help you find a place to fit in and
we know people. In fact, while we were on here, I just got 2 different phone calls from movement leaders. There's not a county that we don't know people in, even a little county like Martin County. That's kind of, quaint, little tucked away, right? They've got people there. We know people everywhere that we can get you in contact with. And I tell you what, I mean, I've made friends for life doing this work because, again, it's working from a point of view that we have a shared destiny.
Well, and I want to just say, if there's one place you can go without, calling any of us, get on the early vote app, the early vote action app, which is Scott Pressler's app. And you can send postcards on there. You can make phone calls. You can look at your neighborhood and figure out who's in your precinct and go knock doors. You don't have to be, you can be a one-person army to go do whatever you want, but there's always something you can do, and it doesn't have to be within the boundaries of a specific group. You can do it on your own. If you need more apps, I can definitely get you an app or 2 that you could.
Well, I mean, that's good to know. So you can do your civic duty. Now we're going to end by, recapturing this abysmal report on how North Carolina, fares in terms of social interaction. And it's something that I would never have known because we are political. You and I are. So we're like, what? How can that be, right? How can that be that North Carolina, because everybody we know is political, but North Carolina is tracking abysmally with other states in terms of sharing things on social media about social issues, talking to our neighbors, getting involved in voting. We can't have this. We're about to lose our damn country.
Yeah, I heard again today that North Carolina's purple, or it's, slightly turning blue, and it blew my mind. But it makes sense, because if you look at social media, it looks like it's blue.
Oh, it definitely. Yeah, there are not enough of us. I'm not a big fan of making a sock puppet account to put articles out there, etc. But if you must, if you're like a Delta pilot, or or if you're a Democrat and you want to be on our team, really do that. Fine, if you must, and don't attack people. Leave that to us. Just informative articles, right? Yeah, that's not very helpful. We attack because we are being attacked as public figures, but you guys sharing, Substack articles that we put up. By the way, the article I want you to know about the child predators, the online child predators, 11,500 views. Thank all of you. Thank you, because you're sharing that article. It is a public service to everyone. And I will say there's one Democrat, I'm not going to out you, that's a leader in the House and the General Assembly. You shared it 57 times. Thank you.
We need to do it. We needed to let 11,000 more. So we'll have to get it out some more, because that's probably one of the most important things we can do is protect our children. And the school system is one way, but I think another place that we need to talk about next week, next week, because it's already Thursday. Wow. I don't think people realize how lax the laws are in North Carolina for people from out of state that have sexual offenses on their record to move here and make this place home and hide amongst us.
Yeah, well, we do know that the amount of registered sex offenders living in North Carolina has increased 70% over the last 3 years. That is a staggering statistic. That's just the people that are registered. And so we need to do better. Cracking down on schools is something we both have been passionate about, and that's a good place to start. And getting these district court judges elected. Next week, we're going to talk about the Superior Court judges that are running. We're going to put together a few programs, guys, to get everyone together, a multi-county effort to start knocking on doors. Wake County is a target. New Hanover is a target. Cabarrus is a target. Those are the three I know right offhand. And we're going to get that going as soon as next week.
Yes, can't wait. We're going to have a lot to talk about. Oh, and we'll talk about Jackson County out this way, because Joe Biden put a headquarters out there by Western Carolina University.
Silva? Yeah, it looks like a laundromat or something.
Yes.
I saw the pictures. We have a lot to talk about, guys. So thank you for tuning in. Again, how many people are we going to share this with?
10
people. 10 people. Also check out our blog, NC Political Tea, at Substack, or ncpoliticaltea.com. Both of them will have this up. Both of them will have the clips. Hit us up on Twitter also. That's where we hang out mainly. Facebook doesn't like us. Imagine that. Imagine why. I don't know.
Are we censored already?
We've been bad girls.
Crazy.
I know.
2 weeks and we're already censored on Facebook. Way to go.
Yeah, I know. I'm awfully proud of us.
Well, listen, I know you're going to go hang out with your family this weekend and do some sporting
events. DC, going to Maryland for a lacrosse tournament, and DC, guys, I'm going to be in DC representing North Carolina on Monday and Tuesday. So Tuesday night will be the best of show, but I will be at the American Enterprise Institute working on conservative education policy. I am in a cohort that is looking for conservative solutions to the dumpster fire that is our public school system.
So we'll be back next Thursday.
That's right. Don't miss the best of, though, because we're going to have it's going to be great. It's going to be fire.
All right. Thanks, Sloan. Have a good evening.